This is Dunc Holder on Sports 1280 New Orleans.
I know there's a little bit of panic from some Saints fans. Not most, I'm going to just say some. Because the Saints did not go nab Jimmy Graham, did not go get Muhammad Wilkerson, did not become a big player in the cornerback market. But listen to some of these numbers that the cornerbacks are receiving. Malcolm Butler, of course, I've touted him for, a year? Easily. 5 years, $61 million from the Tennessee Titans. Maxes out, $30 million guaranteed. And Jeff Howe of the Boston Herald actually reported that the Saints last year were willing to go 4 years, $50 million max out if they were trading for Malcolm Butler. And I'm guessing, you think about it, it's basically the same deal. The parameters are the same, but the Saints were probably figuring, you know what, we're not going to spend the money. We're not going to break the bank on Malcolm Butler anymore now that they have Marshawn Lattimore, and they'll go a different route. Aaron Colvin, his deal with the Houston Texans, of course, he's coming from Jacksonville. 4 years, maxes out $34 million, 18 guaranteed. Once I saw how much, even going into free agency, how much Malcolm Butler and Tremaine Johnson is, I even put him on a free agent wish list. Why not Aaron Colvin? Because I figured he'd be cheaper, and sure, you could start him in the base defense and shift him on the inside and maybe play Crawley on the outside when you got to play three corners. But the Texans went all in on Colvin. Just remember last year, Jeff, A.J. Boye left the Texans for Jacksonville, so they at least got their number 3 guy who's certainly capable. And then Tremaine Johnson's numbers, just being reported out there by a couple of different outlets, $72 million max contract for 5 years from the Jets. $34 million guaranteed. That's $14.5 million per year. Yeah, that's what happens when you've got plenty of money and you're chasing the dream.
Yeah, these corners are getting paid. You know, that's such a premium position that the going rate now is basically $10, $12 million a year. So one day Marshawn Lattimore is going to get paid big time.
Get ready. Also, just look at the wide receivers. Michael Thomas is going to get paid.
Yes, and I tell you, looking at the parameters and the structure of the Brees deal, they are really kicking the can down the road. At some point, this thing's all going to come home to roost, and they're going to have a rookie quarterback. They're not going to be able to afford even a veteran guy because this money is starting to stack up, and it's going to come home to roost at some point in the future because they've been kicking the can down the road, trying to get back into Super Bowl contention. And the more I look at it, the more I'm convinced I think they're going to have to take a quarterback in the draft either this year or next year to get them ready to eventually move on from Brees.
Yeah, and I had a couple of people comment on the column I wrote on Drew Brees. Basically, I assumed that this would be the end. This would be his last 2 years, and they said, but what if he plays again? I think everyone in this deal is, I don't know this for a 100% guaranteed fact, but I think my assumption is that Drew Brees and the Saints are in this for 2 more years, and then that's it, no matter what it is.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to take. I agree with you, unless something unforeseen happened. Like I wouldn't say it's 100% sure, but I would think in 2 years, if they feel like they're just on the cusp of making another run, they would do it. But I think Brees wants to keep playing. I do. But I think he's going to keep playing here. I don't think he's going anywhere else.
Well, I also added in the column, if I've got to write it again in 2 years, I'll write it again in 2 years because one of my biggest things, and we were talking about, what to write after this because you wrote a column earlier yesterday morning when the news broke. And I just think it's a show of appreciation for Drew Brees. Look, did he do the Saints a favor? There's no doubt that he did them a favor with this contract. But I do think that it goes to show, and I think it needs to be appreciated, that Drew Brees is going to be able to break all these records with the Saints. He's not going to have to go chase another team a la Peyton Manning, a la Brett Favre twice. He's not going to be traded like Joe Montana at the end of his career. He's going to be able to do this here. He's going to be the all-time leading passer as far as yardage, and he's going to do that, breaking the record for the New Orleans Saints.
Barring injury.
Barring injury. Of course, that's always the disclaimer. Completions, he'll be able to get that within probably the first month or so. He'll be able to break that record, a month and a half. Also, maybe into next season, the 2019 season, he'll be able to break the record for the most passing touchdowns. Now, if Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram score 30 touchdowns, he may never even reach that record. But you know what I'm saying. He is going to be able to go out with the team he wants to go out with, a la, say, John Elway. That's the comparison I put in the column. I don't know if he's going to win 2 rings at the very end like John Elway did, but he's going to at least have the opportunity, and that comes, it's a two-way street. It's Drew wanting to stay and the Saints wanting him here. And I think it's something that you can't underappreciate with this whole scenario.
Yeah, and I think it means a lot to Drew Brees. Like you said, Drew Brees appreciates the history of the game. He understands how important it is to his legacy to finish his career here in New Orleans. And I don't think there's a dollar figure you can put on that. And I think the Saints understand that, and that's part of the negotiation and part of the proposal that Mickey Loomis made to him. There's value to that, and there is. There's a lot of value to that. And Drew Brees, I mean, this man is going to retire here as the greatest athlete in the history of the city. Think about that. I mean, there's been a lot of great athletes. We just saw a documentary the other night on Pete Maravich, who's one of the greatest basketball players of all time, beloved here, but Drew Brees' career dwarfs that of Pete Maravich because he brought a championship here and because he's going to retire as the leading quarterback in the history of the NFL. That's amazing. What he's brought to the organization in terms of raising the profile, improving the perception and image. Players want to come play here because of Drew Brees and Sean Payton and the work they've done there, but mainly because Drew Brees gives them a chance to win a Super Bowl. And I don't have to remind Saints fans that was not the case for a long time. Nobody wanted to come and play here.
What? Are you sure? They didn't want to come play when the bags were on the head and they were 1-15?
And you have to think about those kind of things when you start wanting to run the guy off. You have to think about all the tentacles of his legacy and where it goes. And you heard the way that Zach Strief talked about him the other day. You just don't hear that for anybody, just any other random player. And those kind of things get out around the league. Players know it. And the leadership and the precedent that he sets in the building every day with his work ethic and dedication and commitment filters down to the other players because they don't want to let him down. How many times we've talked to, say, Mike Thomas or any of the young receivers that come in here, they speak reverentially about Brees and how much they want to win another Super Bowl for him. They don't want to let him down daily in practice. The example he sets on the practice field. How many times, Larry, have we sat out there waiting for Brees to come off the practice field? It could be 1,000 degrees out there. They've already practiced for 2 hours, and he's out there for 45 minutes running through drills with the receivers and then doing the quarterback challenge thing. And this continues to go on to this day.
Absolutely. And one of the topics that was brought up in the Drew Brees conference call with local media a little while ago was, is it in your plan to play through after this 2-year extension? He said, quote, listen, just 1 year at a time. I do have a goal. I do have a vision. I'm not going to share it with you guys. Sorry. But I do have a goal and a vision for where my career is going to go and how long it's going to last. But I'm very focused on each year, one at a time. I think you're hearing, after the whole 45, I'm going to play till I'm 45 storyline, I think as the older he's gotten, I think he knows, okay, at some point I'm going to have to stop. Let's be realistic. So he's not throwing that out there anymore. 1 year at a time. You never know what's going to happen. You never know if the team falters. You never know if his body gives out. You just never know.
I think the Peyton Manning plan is exactly what he wants to be on.
2 years and
win a Super Bowl, retire.
Well, you don't want to chase it when you're in a rocker and you're 60, so probably not the best.
No, I'm just saying, that's if they win another Super Bowl in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, I think he might hang it up.
Well, I would agree.
And all he has to do is outlive Tom Brady.
No kidding, because he's still going strong, and he's older
Yeah.
than Drew. So hour number 1 is up. Hour number 2 is on the way. We'll talk more NFL free agency with Eric Edholm from Pro Football Weekly. So come on back. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Dunc Holder.
When the boom boom girl don't front, tell me what you want.